Can you talk about your daily routine in English without sounding too basic?
If you want to describe your day more naturally, this lesson will help.
First, you'll hear a real daily routine.
Then we'll show you the key phrases you can use in your own life.
Let's get started. So, instead of jumping straight into grammar, let's start with a real example.
Yes, that's always the best way. It helps people hear the English first and understand the topic naturally.
Exactly. So today, let's imagine we're listening to someone talk about a normal weekday.
Good idea. Let's do that.
All right, here's the routine.
Hi, my name is Adam, and I want to tell you about my usual weekday routine. I usually wake up at around 6:45 in the morning. I don't always want to get up straight away, so I normally stay in bed for a few more minutes before I start the day properly. After that, I get up, open the curtains, and go to the bathroom. I brush my teeth, wash my face, and get dressed. I like to be ready before I do anything else because it helps me feel more awake and organized. Then I go to the kitchen and make coffee. I nearly always have coffee in the morning. While I'm drinking it, I sometimes check my phone and look at my messages, but I try not to spend too much time doing that. I usually have a simple breakfast, maybe toast, eggs, fruit, or yogurt. It depends on how much time I have and how hungry I feel. At about 7:30, I leave the house and go to work. I usually drive, and the journey takes about 20 minutes, but sometimes it takes longer if the traffic is bad. I start work at 8 o'clock. In the morning, I usually check my emails first. Then I organize my tasks and start working. Some mornings are very busy, and other mornings are calmer, but I usually have quite a lot to do. At around 12:30, I have lunch. Sometimes I bring lunch from home, and sometimes I buy something nearby. I often eat with colleagues, and it's a good chance to take a break and talk for a while. In the afternoon, I carry on working. I sometimes have meetings, phone calls, or other small tasks that come up during the day. By the end of the afternoon, I'm usually a bit tired, especially if the day has been busy. I finish work at about 5 o'clock. After that, I go home and usually relax for a little while before doing anything else. I might sit on the sofa, make tea, or just enjoy a few quiet minutes. Later, I make dinner. In the evening, I usually try to do something calm. Sometimes I watch something, sometimes I read, and sometimes I go for a short walk if I want some fresh air. Before bed, I usually take a shower, get ready for the next day, and spend a little time away from screens. I try to go to bed at around 10:30 or 11 because I know I feel better the next day if I get enough sleep. And that's my usual weekday routine.
That was such a clear and useful example.
Yes, I really like that kind of routine description because it sounds natural, but it also uses very common everyday English.
Exactly, and that's what learners need most. Not complicated English, but real, useful English.
Let's talk about some of the language from that routine.
Good idea. So one of the first useful phrases was, I wake up at around 6:45.
Yes, very natural. And I also like, I don't always want to get up straight away.
That sounds very real because a lot of people feel exactly like that in the morning.
Definitely. And then we had, I get up, open the curtains, and go to the bathroom.
That's a very natural way to describe the first part of the day in order.
Yes, and then I brush my teeth, wash my face, and get dressed.
These are some of the most basic and important daily routine verbs in English.
Exactly. Very common, very useful.
Then, I liked this part. I go to the kitchen and make coffee.
Yes, and then, while I'm drinking it, I sometimes check my phone.
That's a really useful structure, too. While I'm...
Yes, because it helps you connect actions naturally.
Then we heard, I usually have a simple breakfast.
Very common phrase. And also, it depends on how much time I have.
That's a great everyday phrase. You can use "it depends" in so many topics.
Absolutely.
Then we move into the workday. I leave the house and go to work.
And the journey takes about 20 minutes.
That's very useful if you're talking about commuting.
Yes, and later, I check my emails first. Then I organize my tasks.
Again, very realistic English.
And then lunch. Sometimes I bring lunch from home, and sometimes I buy something nearby.
That's such a natural pattern for speaking, sometimes and sometimes.
Yes, very conversational.
And then I carry on working.
That's a really good phrase, too. Carry on sounds very natural in spoken English.
Definitely.
Then, after work, I usually relax for a little while before doing anything else. I might sit on the sofa, make tea, or just enjoy a few quiet minutes.
Later, I make dinner. In the evening, I usually try to do something calm.
Sometimes I watch something, sometimes I read, and sometimes I go for a short walk if I want some fresh air.
Before bed, I usually take a shower, get ready for the next day, and spend a little time away from screens. I try to go to bed at around 10:30 or 11 because I know I feel better the next day if I get enough sleep. And that's my usual weekday routine. So, how similar is that routine to your own?
Actually, quite similar in some ways. I also wake up fairly early on weekdays, although not always at exactly the same time. I like having a little quiet time in the morning before the day really starts.
Yes, I'm the same in that way. I don't like mornings that start in chaos.
Exactly. I think the tone of the morning changes the tone of the whole day.
That's very true. Do you always eat breakfast?
Most of the time, yes. I don't like skipping it if I can help it. I usually keep it simple, too.
Same here. I think simple breakfasts are the most realistic on normal weekdays.
Definitely. What about your workday? Do you usually start with emails, too?
Yes, often. I think a lot of people do. It feels like the most natural way to begin the working part of the day.
That makes sense. And how about evenings?
I really like quieter evenings. I don't always want something exciting after a long day. Often I just want calm, food, and a little space to breathe.
Yes, that sounds very realistic.
I think this is why daily routine is such a useful topic. It gives learners so much everyday language that they can really use.
Exactly. And the good thing is that daily routine English is not difficult. It's about common verbs, simple time phrases, and natural order.
Okay, now let's look at the key language from this lesson.
Yes, and let's make it easy to remember.
Let's start with the morning. Useful morning phrases. I wake up at. I get up at. I stay in bed for a few more minutes. I open the curtains. I brush my teeth. I wash my face. I get dressed. I make coffee. I have breakfast.
These are the basic building blocks of a daily routine.
Now let's move to work and the middle of the day. Useful workday phrases. I leave the house. I go to work. The journey takes. I start work at. I check my emails. I organize my tasks. I have lunch. I bring lunch from home. I carry on working. I have meetings.
Again, very simple, very useful, very real.
Yes. Now the evening. Useful evening phrases. I finish work at. I go home. I relax for a little while. I make dinner. I watch something. I read. I go for a walk. I take a shower. I go to bed at. I try to get enough sleep.
Those are exactly the kinds of phrases people use in real life.
Yes, definitely. And now here's one short model answer you can copy and practice. I usually wake up at around 7 in the morning. Then I get up, brush my teeth, wash my face, and get dressed. After that, I make coffee and have breakfast. I go to work in the morning, and have lunch at around 12:30. In the evening, I usually relax, make dinner, and go to bed at around 10:30.
That's a very good answer.
Yes, simple, clear, and easy to use. So, as you can see, talking about your daily routine in English is not about difficult grammar.
It's about simple, natural verbs, time phrases, and putting your day in order.
Exactly. And that's what makes your English sound more natural, more useful, and more real.
And if you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to subscribe.
It really helps the channel grow and helps more learners practice English in a natural way.
And tell us in the comments, what is one thing you do every day?
We'd love to read your answers. See you next time.
Bye.